Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. This evening, let's explore the 13th of 28 passages of the meditation classic, Great Garuda in Flight, composed so many centuries ago by the great Buddhist reformer, Prahe Vajra. Examined, there is nothing to be found. If left as it is, pristine awareness gives rise to great qualities. It fulfills all needs even though it is not visible. It is a master teacher devoid of self and other, a precious treasure. As the realm of perfection, it reveals selfless compassion. This is a fabulous passage. Each of these passages is designed to be read as a one-off before a meditation session, just as a useful reminder. This passage really delivers. You know, what I think is going on is my face is far too... I need to adjust this image. So bear with me. Let's see. Here we go. Let's go to zoom capture. And here we go. So let's pull that. Let's do the alt stretch. Ooh, it won't let me. Well, so much for that. Let's see, I'll just do the old-fashioned version. Let's go to edit and undo. Edit and undo. There we go. Now that the technical stuff is over, or it should be. Whoops, wrong button. Okay. Examined, there is nothing to be found. If left as it is, pristine awareness gives rise to great qualities. What does that mean? To explore that, let's visit a set of visual aids. Both this teaching text and the visual aids are available for free download as PDFs. Excuse me. We can walk the path of fear and be controlled by our rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel tendencies. Or we can traverse the path of love and be guided by our tendencies to be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Sadly, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of folks are guided by fear. This 90% of folks includes, sadly, 90% of meditation teachers. These are the guys and gals who will implore their students to actively focus and actively analyze in reliance upon their dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex. Overwork in the front of our brain can cause us to present with symptoms of depression, as well as trigger our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. Fortunately, when we vulnerably and passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, that is simply our spinal cord, it not only calms our amygdala, but it gently stimulates the anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. I was raised to be guided by fear. And in my enthusiasm and my perfectionism and my controlling tendencies, I would concentrate and I would analyze. But those things did not give me the peace, the love, and the wisdom I desired. So, what is meant by pristine awareness? Pristine is a fancy word for meditation, and awareness is a fancy word for mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired, we've evolved to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, known as the sympathetic nervous system. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. It has evolved to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Mind's antics of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings, without picking and choosing, but instead being vulnerable to all manner of phenomena, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. But what are we to do with that which we noticed? Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord, kind of like bookends on a shelf. This region, or this set of regions, is known as our parasympathetic nervous system. And it has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining. Now, we talked about awareness being a synonym for mindfulness and pristine being a metaphor for meditation. That can seem a bit tricky. How do we get from A to Z? Simple. On this planet, complex life forms evolve to think symbolically. Perhaps that is why every human civilization has used figures of speech. We can't help ourselves. Are there figures of speech unique to Buddhism? Yes. Yes, there are. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, feels non-graspable to the hand. And so there we have it. Emptiness is just a metaphor for the fleeting experience of non-graspability, latent within each exhalation. And that is what is meant by pristine. Let's return to this evening's teaching text. Examined, there is nothing to be found. If left as it is, pristine awareness gives rise to great qualities. Consider the phrase, if left as it is. There is an active path, and there is a passive path. We can actively compete against our autonomic nervous system, or we can passively cooperate with it. The most efficient way of doing that is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch each time we feel our chest swell as we inhale, as well as silently and mentally recite the verb rest each time we feel our chest gently sink with each exhalation. There's no need to force this. Forcing does more harm than good. We cooperate with these natural processes. That's it. That's how we get out of our own way. Perhaps that is why the Buddha taught that one could master the Eightfold Path in as little as 7 days. Because by simply noticing and relaxing in harmony with the cycles of breath, the remaining 6 folds of the path, the awareness of impermanence and kindness and the effortless effort wherein our choices, utterances, and deeds flow from love's centered spontaneity, are realized automatically, simply through our practice of mindfulness and meditation. Pristine awareness, mindfulness, and meditation, it fulfills all needs, even though it is not visible. It is a master teacher, devoid of self and other, a precious treasure. Sometimes we can treat ourselves much harsher than we treat others, or vice versa. Consider the movie Land's End, starring Sir Anthony Hopkins, where he played a terrible guy who would make excuses for himself, but not for anybody else. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever self or other we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if they melt into the simplicity of simply individuals. The non-duality Well, when boneheads teach non-duality, they instruct us to lie to ourselves about what we perceive or emote or intend or reason or recall or imagine. That's not the Buddha's path. We notice what we notice, whether it is glorious or grotesque, interesting or boring. But here's where the non-duality comes in. We always use the same response. And what is that response? Noticing and relaxing in harmony with our inhalations and our exhalations. That's it. Whether we're noticing pleasure, pain, good news or bad news, interesting or boring, we're noticing and relaxing. That's where the non-duality comes in. When something bad happens, what do? We notice it and relax. When something good happens, what do? We notice it and relax. No amount of sacred texts, no amount of lectures, no amount of so-called blessings can compare to the silent, visceral, precognitive wisdom acquired from simply processing the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Is the realm of perfection. It reveals selfless compassion. Once again, it is a reference to mindfulness and meditation. The realm of perfection is not some far off and distant wonderland over the rainbow. One of my late Vietnamese Zen teachers insisted that the Pure Land, that paradise, is now or never. He did not define paradise as some place that's warm in the winter and cool and refreshing in the summer. He didn't describe paradise as being some place where you always get what you want when you want it for as long as you want it. He described paradise simply as being aware of what's going on and able to release what's going on. That release might be fleeting, and it might be, and that release is repeated with each exhalation. Consider the pendulum of a grandfather clock, forever swinging back and forth. No one looks at a grandfather clock and sees the pendulum swinging back and forth and says, oh, well, it's failed because the pendulum's still moving. Anybody who studied engineering would say we need the pendulum to move. That's what contributes to the functionality of the grandfather clock. Similarly, we need to breathe in, breathe out. We need to notice and relax. It is what we have evolved to do. When we stop fighting that and begin cooperating with it, it turns out we can master this path in as little as 7 days. Mastering the path does not mean all of a sudden there's certain emotions you don't experience or certain circumstances you don't experience. Au contraire, mastering the path simply means that we're able to practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Having completed this evening's opening lesson, let us now shift gears. It is General Leia Organa Saturday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping, This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this evening's live stream, let's meditate. As we inhale, let us silently and mentally recite, watch. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb, rest. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 5 minutes or so. The essence of mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch during each inhalation. The essence of meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest during each exhalation. Doing so helps us to passively coordinate with the portions of our central nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, that make mastery of mindfulness and meditation effortless. You have taken your first step. Whoopsie. There we go. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 12 hours. Whoopsie, is that right? I don't think that's right. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.